everyone, I'm Nick from nextstepnick.com, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Nubarron, The Adventures of an Unlucky Gnome. You might notice I didn't put that subtitle in there, reason being, it's a really long title. I literally started writing that and I thought this is going to take up all screen, we're not going to bother with that. But anyway, please excuse me if I sound a bit nasally, I have had the flu recently, I'm feeling better than I was, but that's why recently the videos have been a little bit slow, but we're back to our normal selves now. Lots of stuff coming out over the next few days. Make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really helps out. Anyway, let's talk a bit about Nubarron, this unlucky gnome of ours. So, it's basically a puzzle game. It's basically a puzzle game where you're playing as Nubarron the gnome as you basically go on a quest to get your lucky hat, your lucky red hat. It's kind of played tongue-in-cheek. The environments themselves are really attractive. I think the world itself looks really, really good. The one thing I find interesting about it is that I feel like there's comedy. I don't know if it is comedy, I don't know if it's intended to be funny, but like here, your little chats back and forth to the villagers, there's something of a, I don't know, comical nature to it. It seems like there's like an insulting kind of joke theme to it. Maybe it's taking the mick out of itself. It's kind of hard to tell though, to be honest, because it doesn't really do anything fully. I feel like it doesn't commit to anything fully. Like, there's a lot of different things explored. Like, things start but don't really finish. So, the game is a puzzle game, in essence, where you're basically platforming around. You've got this cloud with you, though, that then finds you very, very early on. And what that cloud does is it interacts with things around you, so it can kill enemies. It can electrify things like switches in order to flip switches if they're far away from you. Stuff like that. It can do a lot of different things in regard to interacting with the environment, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, sure, it evolves as the game goes on. There is like an evolution where you get more things going on and you think, oh, okay, you know, like now it's raining and the cloud's absorbing water, so, okay, maybe we have to do this in a different way, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's just kind of the same. Like, you learn a technique, like here, for example, it took me a second to realise, but as soon as you realise what you're doing, you can just kind of carry on, and then this same kind of puzzle will happen 5 or 6 times in very, very similar settings and surroundings. Like, you know, it will be, okay, put this block on top of this puzzle. Okay, now there's no block, use an enemy as the block, put them on top of it. Okay, now you can't get to this, do this. Like, it's very much a case of it shows you a mechanic and then hits home with it by just showing you it over and over again. So like here, I didn't know you can actually push the opponents around because it hasn't been told to you at all. Like, you're not really told anything much, so you just basically end up wandering around trying to figure out what exactly to do until eventually you say, oh, okay, well, I've suddenly realised now what I need to do is push this enemy over here. It's a weird one, really, because I like elements of it. I love the way it looks. I like the premise. I like the idea of it kind of being tongue-in-cheek, if it is tongue-in-cheek, but I don't really feel like, I say, it commits to anything fully. The puzzles are very basic. You know, there might be new things to look at, but for the most part, you're just jumping and doing timing and occasionally beating enemies and things like that. But a lot of it is luck-based, because the cloud isn't exactly the most responsive. It doesn't always work in the ways it's meant to. You know, it's meant to electrify things. It does electrify things, but you can't really predict the range, you can't really predict how fast it will do things, because sometimes you hold the button, it will immediately do it, other times it won't, sometimes it will say it can lock onto things, other times it won't. It's alright. I don't have any sort of negative feelings towards the game, but I don't have much positive either, which is a shame. I love the way it looks. I think the vistas and the art style is really, really attractive, and likewise, I feel like the soundtrack is quite pretty. But at the same time, I feel like there are elements to be appreciated in a really good game, or to be appreciated in a game, rather than just entire focuses. And the mechanics themselves just get frustrating. I mean, here you'll see the cloud's gone black. That means that if I dally around for too long, it will electrocute me. Which, yeah, it's an interesting premise in theory. In practice, I'm pushing blocks around. So this isn't getting in the way of, you know, making me think about different ways to solve puzzles. I'm just having to take a second, stop what I'm doing, come back, do it again. Like, I'm not learning anything new or interesting. I'm not having to utilise the cloud in a different way. It just gets in the way a bit. Like, you can't always tell what exactly you're meant to be doing. So down below, for example, you'll see like a lightning rod there. I have to jump over at the perfect moment for it to get shocked. But the problem with that is that it just doesn't always do things consistently. It might show you a little lightning bolt, oh, it's going to happen any second, and it takes a fraction of a second longer than it does other times. It's just, yeah, it's one of those games where there are some games I've played that I really didn't like. I just didn't enjoy them. There are other games I've played that I've had a blast with. This is just one of those games that I don't really have much to say about it. I don't feel like it commits to anything new and interesting. I don't think it's anything that really blows me away. It doesn't use these mechanics in an interesting new way. And it doesn't really reward you. You know, you search around, for example here, this puzzle, as far as I know, is optional. But it's just a case of, okay, you move the block. Then you get this thing electrocuted. Then you do this other thing. And then eventually, after this series of kind of inane tasks, you know, because let's be honest, it's not anything that requires much in the way of brain power. You move a box, you jump over a lightning rod. I'm going to be honest, my gameplay here is atrocious because, one, I've not been very well, and two, I've kind of lost interest. Because the other thing is, the rewards you get for completing these challenges are like little cards that will tell you more about things in the world, but they're just kind of, yeah, you know, again, the art is quite pretty. The actual sort of thing itself looks quite nice, but it doesn't really do anything. You know, there's no benefit, there's no congratulatory sound, or, you know, there's no kind of reason to do it. You just sort of think, okay, yeah, here's a page. You go through a load of inane tasks that you've done 6 times already, then you get the page. And like with here, the backgrounds are beautiful, but sometimes they're inconsistent. So you can't always tell what you can go behind and what you can't go behind. And that would be fine if the things behind these backgrounds were always optional. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes you'll go past, for example, a load of bushes, and you won't realise that there's a ladder hidden in there. So you can be going backwards and forwards for a good 5 to 10 minutes and just wasting your time, really. I think it's a shame, because it's an interesting title and it's a really attractive title. And I feel like it's worth playing if you're interested in just throwing a little bit of time into an okay platformer and puzzler. But it's over quite quickly. It's not a very long experience either. It's alright. It doesn't blow me away is the problem. And I feel like with the visuals it's got and the soundtrack it's got and the premise it's got, it could do. If this was played in the right way, I feel like it could be a really funny, sweet little adventure. But because it's played just kind of, yeah, the way it is, you know, dialogue is few and far between, interactions with the world don't really mean anything. There's not a lot really to think about, you know, it doesn't make me feel anything. I don't care about our character, I don't really care about the world, and I can't really tell if he's joking. So, it's a shame, really. It's a shame that it is a negative, but at the same time, I would say it's worth having a look at. It's worth keeping an eye on, because if it's in the sale, and you'd like to try something that's got some really attractive visuals, and some interesting premises, but, you know, nothing revolutionary, it's worth having a go. It's worth having a go, but at the same time, I don't think I'd pick it up for full price. I mean, full disclosure, the developer gave me a copy of this. Thank you very much for that, and I always try to remain objective with my reviews, but I just feel like it's the kind of game that just needs more work. It needs more love. It feels like you're showing me what you can do, but you're not taking this anywhere. It's a bit like a demo for tech. Oh, look at what we can do with our new system, for example. But at the same time, you're not doing anything that makes me think that this is unique or different or interesting. It's just, yeah, okay, I'm impressed. Show me what you can do. When you've made a game that is a bit more fleshed out, I'll play it. Anyway, that was Nubarron, The Adventures of an Unlucky Gnome. If you are still interested in more content though and you want to see a bit more, then why not check out one of the links I'll pop up on the screen now. You can find some brand new content, have a bit of a look. You can even listen to us talk about games for a little bit. Fun times, right? Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you again very, very soon.